Hey friends, how many nights have you stood in the kitchen and asked yourself, what am I going to do with this pound of ground beef? Well, I'm Mel, welcome to my kitchen, and I've got some answers for you. I'm sharing 5 amazing ground beef dishes that you will want to make again and again. They're all quick, easy, made with very simple ingredients that your family will actually eat. These are sure to become some of your favorite weeknight go-to meals. So just sit back, relax, grab your sweet tea, and let me do the cooking. Tonight we're making a bacon cheeseburger tater tot casserole. I've never shown this before. You guys are going to love it. Starting with a pound of ground beef, a little over if you have it is fine. I'm going to throw some onions in here and let me show you everything put together we mix in here. I've got my ground beef almost done up, and I did throw some onions in. Just wanted to give you some little helpful hints. This recipe is very easy as it is, but I buy these frozen chopped onions in the freezer section. They used to be 99 cents a bag. I think they're maybe $1.15 or something now. But that is still just a little splurge item that I like to have on hand for when I'm throwing a meal together, like after work, and I just want it super quick. I throw those in recipes. It is a game changer for me. Also, let me season this meat up just a little bit and put my anti-no-nos. This is salt, garlic, and onion powder. Love to season my meat with that. But another tip, if you are sitting around one day and you got some extra time, brown up ground beef, drain your grease off, let it cool. You can store that in the freezer as well. Then you have it on hand and ready when you want to put something like this together on the fly. Another little tip, if you're new here, you may not have seen this before. If I want just a little bit of grease drained off some ground beef, I'll just take me a paper towel and my tongs, and I will just blot that meat, kind of get down here in the corner where it all comes out, and get it out right here. That is a very efficient way to do it that kind of saves you some time and some dishes. Now, when you mix up these tater tot casseroles, you want to use the biggest bowl you have. You're going to need it. This one actually takes 16 ounces of sour cream. We're also going to put in 1 can of cheddar cheese soup. If the can of cheddar cheese soup is not enough, we're also going to put in 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And this is actually a little bit frozen. You will see tonight that I did not have all my ducks in a row, so I just had to pull this right out of the freezer. I also did not cook my bacon portion up ahead of time. I meant to do that in the oven, but you know what? I have these real bacon bits. I'm going to go in with that. Calls for about 3/4 of a cup. That is plenty. Before I put in my tater tots, I'm going to season this mixture with just a little anti-no-nos. I like to get all this portion done and mixed together before I fold in the potato tots. Now you're taking a 32-ounce bag of tater tots, and I just start with about half of this bag. Mix them around a little bit, and then I'll come in with about half of that ground beef. To me, it's just a little easier to mix them in like this a little bit at a time. And the ground beef really helps, it just mix in because mine is still nice and warm. I absolutely love this casserole. I have never shown it here before. I have shown a tater tot casserole, but I believe it was one of like the chicken ranch ones or the crack chicken. I will leave that video for you down in the description box if you'd like to check that out. Here comes the rest of my tater tots and the rest of my meat. Let's get that little bit of onion and grease out of there. Now we got to get muscles on our muscles and get all this stirred in together. Now this goes in a 9x13 pan. I've got me a bigger one. This, I don't even know what size this is, but it is bigger than a 9x13, and this is the heaviest darn mixture. Now the reason that I like to use this pan that's bigger than a 9x13 is because I like my casserole to be more spread out. because I like my tater tots to get a little bit of crispiness to them if they can. So you can see it fills this up perfectly. It would definitely fill up a 9 by 13. This is great to take to potlucks. It's great for weeknights, like I said. Now, something else you could do at this point, you could just take half of this. Honestly, it would still fill up a 9 by 13. It would just be thinner. Or you could put it in an 8 by 8, and you could cook that up for tonight. Then take one of those freezer pans and put the other half of it in that and put it in the freezer. This is a perfect make-ahead meal. You could make it just a day or two in advance, stick it in the refrigerator and cook it, or put it in the refrigerator, thaw it, and cook it up months later. Now I'm going to put this in a 350-degree oven for about 50 to 55 minutes. This little boy, he takes a minute to bake because he is a big one. I absolutely love this casserole. There is no better flavor than ground beef, potatoes, and cheese. So homey, so good. You could totally customize this for your taste, adding in rotel, peppers, anything like that, but this is my family's favorite way to have this. I went ahead and made this early at lunch and had a little plate. Then when I came back in from running errands later that night, all I had to do was throw a salad together and reheat this for my family. We absolutely love this dish. And now I'm going to share a Sloppy Joe cornbread bake. This right here is all it takes for the Sloppy Joe cornbread bake. Mainly, this little can of stuff right here is what makes it so good and so quick and easy. Well, this doesn't hurt either. I'm going to start this mixing up our Jiffy cornbread bake for the bottom. You use 1 package of Jiffy. I'm going to use an entire can of cream style corn. This is a 14-ounce can. I'm going to crack in 2 eggs and a half a cup of milk. You just want to get all this mixed together real good. I have made a number of different variations of this recipe. I've done it with a taco type deal with enchilada sauce. I think I've done maybe a chicken bacon ranch type one. I don't think I've shown that on here, but you can't go wrong starting out with the bed of Jiffy cornbread mix. We're also going to put in 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I've got a 9 by 13 casserole dish that I have sprayed. Just going to put all my cornmeal into that. Now we're going to bake this for 20 minutes in a 400-degree oven while we start on our Sloppy Joe mix. I have a pound of ground beef here. This is 80-20, so it's a little fatty. So I'm just going to take me a little bit of paper towel and kind of get some of the fat up out of here best I can. My cornbread is almost done, so this comes together really quickly while you're doing all the different steps. The whole point of this meal to me is quick and easy. That's why I use this can. Now, if you wanted to level this up, you could definitely make your regular Sloppy Joes like I do the Pioneer Woman's, and I love them. That would take it over the top. They're not hard, and they're pretty quick too, but you got the extra step with the cornbread. This is just, I guess, super duper easy. But anyway, got my beef all cooked up, the extra grease drained off of it, mix in my manwich, and I'm just going to let this sit here and simmer for about 5 minutes. Okie doke, I did not even have to let mine set for 5 minutes. Mine was just heated through really quick, and that's all you're trying to do here is just heat it through. Going to take that manwich and just spread it all over the top here. Now this one I did not poke holes in my cornbread. If you've seen me make some others of these where I've poured enchilada sauce on it, I do poke holes in that cornbread just to kind of let the stuff get down in there. But this one, you just spread it out right over the top. Can't let that go in the oven without just maybe another cup of cheese crumbled up over the top of it here. Now I still have this oven at 400 degrees. We're going to go in another 20 minutes. Nothing says fall or even snow day like this casserole. You can't beat the flavors of cornbread and sloppy joe together. I like to top it with just a little bit of green onion, and there you can see that cornbread hiding out in there. Absolutely delicious. I'll have links to all these recipes down in the description box, as well as a link to a video where I made the Pioneer Woman Sloppy Joes if you want to give those a try too. I love to serve casseroles along with a salad, and my daughter had brought us in some truffle mac and cheese the night before from where she works, and it went perfectly with this meal. Comfort food at its best. And with a name like Mamaw's Mexican Casserole, how can you not love this next dish? This dish is made with 1 pound of ground beef, give or take. I'm getting ready to put some onions and garlic in it. But this dish is called Mamaw's Mexican Casserole. It's really similar to something you may have seen before that's called Dorito Casserole. But when I make it with chicken, I use Doritos, and I put some different things in it. But when I'm using ground beef, I like to use the white corn tortilla chips. You can see here I've got 2 bags of the same thing open. We are notorious for that happening at our house, but when I get down to the point where there's sort of some crumbs in the bottom, that is when I always like to pull this little dish out and make use of those crumbs. So let's get it going. I have got my ground beef all browned up with some onions and some garlic. I'm scraping the bottle on this chili powder, but I am going to put in about 2 teaspoons. That's a little much. I have to watch myself with chili powder. I could go crazy. I like it. I'm also going to put in a can of mild chili beans. A lot of these recipes call for ranch beans, which I think is just pinto beans. But I like to sauce it up a little bit with a little bit of those mild chili beans. Now the 2 ingredients I have left is this 1 can of Rotel. You're going to use this undrained. And I have a can of the Fiesta Nacho Cheese Soup. You could actually use a cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, one of those packs of Velveeta cheese sauce, or just a can of regular cheddar cheese soup. Just kind of use what you have, but if you can get your hands on the Fiesta Nacho, I really like it. Now, when you read this recipe, it says to mix this Rotel and this soup in a separate bowl, and you're going to layer this. But I just mix it all in here. It's going to all get together anyway, so this is how I do it. I ain't into doing dishes. Now you're going to take some of your tortilla chips and just kind of crunch them up. This recipe should be made in like an 8x8 or a 9x9, but this is a big dish, but it's relatively skinny as far as the bottom, so I just like to make it in this. So you're going to take about half of this mixture here. This is always the hardest part for me in these kind of meals, is figuring out how much is half. And honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. I may have used a little bit too much chips, but I like mine kind of crunchy. I do. I put less chips near the top. This recipe calls for some Mexican cheese. You're going to put a cup of it in between each layer. What I'm doing tonight is just using a little Monterey Jack and cheddar mixture that I'm making up myself. Now we're going to do another chip layer. I use just a little bit less on this layer. Come in with the rest of your meat, bean, cheese, tomato mixture. I'm going to try to get those chips pretty much covered up. If a little bit sticks out, that is fine. Then come back over it with another cup of cheese. You really cannot mess this little casserole up. The only advice that I really have to give you on it is just to watch it in the oven. It's going to go in a 350-degree oven for 30-35 minutes. Everything's cooked. All you have to do is let the cheese get melted, and if you leave it in there too long, your chips will get kind of hard. So it's going in. I say this every time, but I swear this is a favorite part of a casserole for me. I love it coming out of the oven. I like to serve this up sort of like a taco salad, put some lettuce around it, and then put all the good toppings that I would put on top of tacos. This also pairs really well if you want some refried beans or rice on the side, any of that kind of stuff. But I like mine a big old taco salad with some green onions on the top. I made this for family dinner night. This little casserole fed 5 of us with even enough leftovers for a couple of us to have lunch the next day. I absolutely love the flavors of this casserole. It's not overpowering at all. It just tastes like what the name implies. It's Mamaw's Mexican casserole. It's got chili flavor, beans, ground beef, and onions, but it's not over the top with lots of taco seasoning or enchilada sauce. It's really just a good, hearty, beefy kind of Tex-Mex meal. I could not do a ground beef video without putting in this Cheeseburger in Paradise. This recipe, of course, starts with 1 pound of ground beef that you're just going to brown up with some onions in it. If you want to throw some garlic in this step, you could do that as well. Again, these are all very customizable to your favorite flavors. Once all the grease is drained off, I'm going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm also going to put in some Worcestershire sauce, how much ever you like. It's up to you. You know what your family likes. Once you get all that mixed together, I'm going to put it over into a greased pie plate and then cover it with about a cup of shredded cheddar cheese. And this recipe is perfect size for a pie plate. This Cheeseburger in Paradise has a wonderful topping. It starts with a 1/2 cup of Bisquick, and into that I'm adding in 1 cup of milk and 2 eggs. Gonna just mix that all up really good. I just found this recipe in the last 1.5 to 2 years, but a lot of people have told me that it came from an old Bisquick cookbook. So it is tried and true in my house for sure. Once you get all that mixed up, you're just going to pour that over the top of everything in your pie plate, and this is going into a 400-degree oven for 25 minutes. Mine always comes out perfect at 25 minutes. This is so yummy. These flavors are simple, homey, comforting. I absolutely love this little dish. Everyone in my family loves it. When I'm in a rush, this is one I pull out. Something about it makes me think of that sausage and cream cheese bake with the crescent rolls, but I absolutely love it. Of course, I put it with a salad, and if I'm having something called a cheeseburger, I love some big old onion rings with it. This is one of my family's all-time favorites. Now I'm sharing another family favorite. It is my Aunt Kathy's Cowboy Beans. And of course, this one is starting with 1 pound of ground beef. Just going to brown that up on top of the stove with some onions. You can season it up however you like, but I like this one just the way my Aunt Kathy always made it. While that's browning up, we're going to start mixing in everything into our pork and beans, and I'm actually using 2 15-ounce cans, or you could use one of the big 28-ounce cans of pork and beans. Going to add in 1 cup of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, and 3 tablespoons of vinegar. I'm using a 2-quart casserole dish that I have greased, and it has a lid. You do want something that is covered to make these in, a Dutch oven or a bean pot or something like that, because it really needs to hold all this heat in. I also throw in just a little bit of salt. Mix it all up. Once I have drained the grease off of my ground beef and onions, I'm just going to mix that in to my pork and beans. Going to put the lid on this and put this in a 400-degree oven for 1 hour, covered the whole time. This dish comes out bubbly and good, and you just leave it covered for a few minutes and let it stand. Then when you take that lid off, look how thick and rich and glorious this is. I absolutely love this. I bet I've made this a million times. It gets thick, rich. Now this is a typical week for me when I'm making cowboy beans. The first night, I like for them to be the main dish, star of the show. I open up some of those Margaret Holmes canned greens, fry potatoes. I've got some fried cornbread there or hoe cakes, and I made a box of pasta salad. Then later on in the week, I'll pull them out as a side dish, take my leftover pasta salad and add some more ranch dressing and veggies to it, and fry hamburgers. So one night when I make pasta salad from a box and cowboy beans, it helps me all week long. I hope that this video has helped you out with your ground beef dinner time dilemmas. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, be sure and do that so you never miss an upload. I'd love to have you here. If you enjoy the kind of cooking that I did in tonight's video, I've got another one linked up on the screen that I really think you'd like. Thanks again for being here, and until next time, I send you love from my kitchen.